Hello and good morning from Straight Facts Media. Wesley Dawson here. I wasn't going to upload another video till tomorrow, but doing some research and I thought this has to be said, so I thought I'd do another video. So I come across something called BRICS. B-R-I-C-S. Now this is like its own sort of like its own G20. See how England, America, Germany, Japan, all these leading countries in the world get together once a year to discuss global matters, climate change, energy, whatnot. But BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Now that's BRICS. Now they started about 15 years ago ish, but joining very soon is Algeria, Argentina, Egypt, Indonesia, Iran, Saudi Arabia and the UAE. 40 countries have also asked to join. Now, as it stands, them countries that I've already said count for 3.2 billion people, just under half of the world. So now these countries have stopped trading in the US dollar. So this is like completely the de-dollarization of the dollar. Since 1945, the US dollar has been the global currency, meaning anybody buying or trading has to do so in the US dollar, meaning that it has to go through an American bank, normally in Manhattan, Wall Street. So they sort of have control over all transactions in the world. They can see who's buying, who's selling and whatnot. Now, the US dollar isn't backed by gold. This changed, I believe it was 1971, don't quote me on that, but they came up with a fiat scheme. That basically means that you didn't need gold anymore to print money. So before that, you had to have so much weight in gold to print so much money. But back about 50, 60 years ago, whatever it was, they changed that. Now down to a government and a banking system can decide when's the right time to print money. This is why we have such bad inflation now. Now BRICS want to bring out they want to make their own currency backed by gold, meaning no more dollar for more than half the world. Now, Goldman Sachs Bank has said by 2050, BRICS will dominate the world in all sectors, meaning like not just the economy, not just energy, AI, computer chips, food. They will be like they'll be like the NATO and the EU and the US of today. Okay, now we are due a change in global currency anyway, because if you look back over the last 400 or 500 years, there's been like, I'm not sure exactly, maybe 7 different currencies that have had the global currency. We've had, I believe it was the Swedish, Spanish, the franc, the pound, the dollar, There might be another one or two, but I'm not sure. I don't have the paperwork with me right now. But we are due a change in this anyway. And to be honest, who the hell do they think they are anyway? Fucking making everyone buy and sell in the dollar, even though it's not backed by any gold or by no metal or nothing. I actually didn't believe this. I actually have had rows with some of my family and friends. They still believe that money is backed by gold, and people get the hump when you say this to them, and until they do a bit of research, they still don't believe it. But what this basically means is, if you have 100,000 in the bank, and that bank has only set as insurance to keep 10% of your money, or a maximum, in some cases 50 grand, some cases less, sometimes more. But so what they do is they take all your money, right, and they spend it all, okay? And they know that you can only withdraw 250, 500 a day from the cash point. If you need more than that, you have to ring the bank and try and set a date to come in and collect whatever. If you ask them for something stupid like 50 grand in cash, good luck getting that, right? Because they do not want to do that, right? What they want to do is just give it to you in the cash point daily, and that's sort of it. So I'm not 100% with these numbers right now, because I don't have my computer open, but I think about 2% of money is actually in notes or coins. 2%. Now, if you go back to 2010, I believe it was. I think it was like, again, I'm not exact with the numbers, but between, I think it's like 30 to 40% was actually in money. Now it's all numbers in the bank, just zeros and zeros that don't exist. So I'm sure you're very aware of the word inflation. So at the moment we're at an inflation of like 10 or 11%, right? We can only be at like 1.5%. Yeah, that's sort of like max. Yeah. Now, this has led to food increasing, and the normal people can't buy the things they normally buy. Bills, energy, driving a car has become a luxury. Even getting on a bus costs £2 to go a stop. The train's like a £5 in the morning to go 2 or 3 stops. They're just draining us of every single bit of independence we have. So now this is happening. What's going to happen to the Western world? But this is really scary, to be honest. Like, if we think it's bad now, and we're sending all this money to Ukraine. Now, Ukraine, already, the people that are going to help rebuild Ukraine already have the contracts, and I think it's something close to 500 billion to rebuild Ukraine. Now, that is a lot of money, and will be going to a select few companies. So in these situations, you have to ask yourself, who's benefiting from this? Where's the money actually going? And why are we sending all this money to Ukraine when people in this country anyway are literally starving? There's people all over the streets begging, crime's gone up, the immigration levels are going crazy, food's increased drastically, Um, like especially after COVID, all the small businesses went out of business, but the big companies got richer. Like Google, YouTube, Apple, Amazon. Uh, that's just four to say the least. Okay, that have maybe tripled in value. Okay, now we have this war in Ukraine. Now, I believe the West was part to blame for this war because we have been antagonizing Putin, where we all say Putin's crazy, Putin's this, Putin's that. Putin's turned Russia from being a starving state into a leading superpower, and he he doesn't seem to be doing anything wrong with all the other countries. It's only like the Western the Western countries that have led the world for the last 50, 60, 70 years. Like he is now doing a lot in the continent of Africa. He has told countries they don't have to pay their debt back to them. He's sending certain countries tons and tons and tons of food for free. Okay? Do you remember the Nord pipeline that the Yanks blew up? It was a gas pipeline that went from Russia to Europe. The Yanks blew that up, and they were, at the time, they had just finished their own pipeline coming from Nigeria up through Central Africa into Europe that way. Okay, I think they invested like about 20 billion. Now, how convenient is that? Just take out the competition. So now we supply Europe the gas, but now Putin has got involved with that pipeline in Nigeria, which goes through a lot of countries to get to Europe, and a lot of these countries are starving, don't have any money. They've been thinking, why are we letting this pipeline come through our countries when we don't even have our own power supply, our own gas, our own oil coming through. Like, this is coming from one country, going through all of our countries, and what do we get out of it? Nothing. So Russia has stopped this. Okay, so now it's not coming to Europe. Okay, so now where are Europe going to get their gas from now? Now, it's going to be winter in the next couple of months, and we're expected to have a very cold winter. So we've just seen the energy prices maybe increase like three or four times. No one can afford it as it is. So what is going to happen when we ain't getting it from there either? I don't know where we're going to get it from. And all the other countries that are big energy countries seem to be joining this BRICS as well. Like, and if like, think China, Brazil, Russia, Iran, India, all partnered up. No one's going to be able to mess with them. No one. Like, Russia, the biggest nuclear power in the world. China, the biggest army. Russia, one of the biggest suppliers of natural gas. India with its 1.4 billion people. Russia and China basically own the whole of Africa as well. And China and Russia are doing a lot for Africa, building motorways, building bridges, dams, building cities, building infrastructure that the Europeans and the Americans didn't do. So recently, many countries in Africa have chucked out the French, the Belgian, the Spanish, the Brits, the Americans. And like, if you look at what just happened in Afghanistan, you can't blame them really. It's like this. I just had to do a little quick post about this because this is very concerning. I have another one or two things I just want to quickly say. On what I said earlier about Congress and these whistleblowers, right? I got the names. The main geezer, David Grush. He's an ex-intelligence officer and was in the intelligence committee. He worked in the intelligence. He worked in intelligence for about the last 20 years. Someone else called David Fravor, Navy commander. Someone called Ryan Graves, a Navy pilot. All three of them stood up in Congress under oath and gave their statements. So, in their own sort of way, they all sort of said that they've seen and heard things going on that ain't right. And these are pretty credible witnesses to be doing this. So David Grush seemed to know the most. He states that he has been in these programs that are working in the reverse engineering of UFO craft that had crashed onto our planet, a number of different ones. And there was also bodies found in these craft, which we also have. They're probably dead now anyway, but the technology is being kept from the public for decades. And because of this, they've profited trillions and trillions of pounds. Like, I'm talking like about anti-gravity technology, laser-powered weapons, communication systems that can talk to each other like thousands of miles away, just like around the corner. Now, this is being kept from the public. Now, this could all be a whole load more bullshit. This could be a whole load more bullshit. But it might not be. But it just seems convenient with the times, with all the things that's going on in the world right now. Now they want to let it go into Congress. Now, there's a few people that are really getting behind this. Someone that I've looked into it intensively is someone called David Greer. He's a doctor and a A&E surgeon who hasn't practiced for 30 years, but he made a documentary called Disclosure, and they talk about all these systems and this technology and these reverse engineered crafts and the different types of beings that we are working with, that we are like, there's more than 10 different races, as I believe that they're saying anyway. Now, there's another whistleblower coming through a different platform called Eric Hecker. Now, he worked in Antarctica. He worked in lithium. He worked for lithium and was a private contractor. He was a plumber and firefighter who was in the Navy, worked on submarines, on all their plumbing and things in the submarines. But the reason he was called to Antarctica was because he was a very high level plumber, and before he got there, they taught him how to be a firefighter as well. So he was a plumber and a firefighter at this base in Antarctica. Now, what he says he sees there is basically, to work at this place, you have to have all this sort of like different types of classifications to get like from one building to the next and whatnot. But where Eric Hecker got so much access with like a pretty low level job for that, he had to constantly check the plumbing systems, the water systems, the pumps, check for fire safety. So he had pretty good access to this whole place, and it took a bit of time for him to start realizing what was actually going on. And what he says he's seen there is like basically free energy that's like on, but there's no power going into it. So where's this power coming from? And he sees a lot of other stuff. I was just going to tell you, just look into him. His name is Eric Hecker. I saw him on the Redacted podcast, and I just wanted to have a little talk about that, because that's along the lines of what I was just talking about with the free whistleblowers at Congress. Also, I must state that Eric Hecker also made a statement at Congress, but this was in a stiff. This is a special room that no one can monitor, no one can, only classified people can be in there, so it wouldn't be made public. But they talk about free energy, weapons of laser tech, mad technology that we wouldn't even be able to imagine, let alone understand. But that's about that. That was the main thing I wanted to say. And the little other thing is about Trump indicted, looking at 713 years. Like, is this crazy? Biden's down in the polls and then Trump gets indicted. This is an 80-something-year-old man who has been in the public eye for years, earned billions of pounds, and was president. But now they're saying that he's dirty. Don't make sense. And the reason that they don't want him to be president so badly is because he's coming after them all, mate. He's gonna lock them all up. Hunter, Joe, probably the whole team, mate, that's round Joe. But I personally think Biden is the worst president ever. And Trump, although you might not like Trump personally, his policies were pretty good. Do you know what I mean? He made America completely energy independent, where now they're like really messed up with energy. They've closed a lot of their own things down because they want this green energy, but really green energy costs more in the costs more with pollution than it does for a normal energy. Like, we will still be using coal and oil in 30 years. It will reduce in time, but the world isn't ready for this change. So if we start making a change now, we might be green in about 30 years, 50 years, but China, India, none of these countries are using green energy. It's just not there yet. It's just not strong enough yet. But if we go back to what we were just talking about all these whistleblowers and stuff talking about free energy and energies in the air, and we can abstract energy from space and time. I've been looking into this for some time. Back to Trump. Trump had a brilliant relationship with China. Russia, I believe Russia would not be having this problem with Ukraine right now if Trump was still in. Trump got a record, I think 300 billion from China, where before him never a penny was paid. And to be honest, a lot of them like Trump because they know what they're getting with Trump. He's not bullshitting them. He's not telling them one thing and then doing another, like all these other beeps, you know what I mean? Like the Bushes, the Obamas, the Bidens. Like, it just seems like they just want to ruin. They want to ruin the country, not make it better. Right, but we'll come back to that in the next couple of days as that unfolds. Two more little things I want to talk to you about quickly was I just seen about Spain. Now they're saying Spain have a dictator type party, very right wing, called Vox. Now, dictators, are they bad or good? Now, we say they're bad because that's what we're told, but I'm a lot smarter than that. I don't believe anything I'm told and believe half of what I can see. So this, I've actually looked into this today, right? Quick question. Dictator, good or bad? Or EU, NATO, and the US, worse or better? Now, to be honest, I believe the West is becoming like a communist country. You can no longer say what you want. Like, that's the First Amendment in America, freedom of speech. Like, that don't exist anymore. It 100% don't exist no more. I'll tell you why in a minute. I myself personally have felt this. Okay, right. So back to Spain quickly. We all think that dictators are really bad, but who is worse really? The EU, NATO, US, the WHO, World Health Organization, or the WF, the World Economic Forum, or the bankers? Okay, I'd say, me personally, I'd say EU, NATO, US, WHO,